Hey, welcome back to the Undrafted and Unqualified Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Anthony, here by myself again. We had a little technical difficulties where we got some crazy weather going on in our area today. So Vinny's unable to join, but I'll be here. I'll be doing the recap. I'll be doing everything y'all need as always. So yeah, it's looking like a good week in a couple updates in my league with Vinny. I did clinch a bye week again, going for that three-peat in that league. So getting the bye is huge. I'm looking forward to that. I'll need two wins in the playoffs, and I get the three-peat. That'd be awesome. My other league, I just clinched a playoff spot. So I don't know if it's possible I could get the bye, but got a playoff spot. Probably clinching my third league too that I don't really care about. But yeah, great week for my teams. Yeah, it was a weird week overall. Just a lot of upsets around the board. You'll hear me talk about them very shortly. But yeah, week 13 is in the books. Weird one. Awesome one on Thanksgiving. We'll talk about those games as well. But yeah, we are heading into week 14. We're gonna have the Patriots, Giants. Panthers and 49ers all on bye, and that's the last bye week of the season. Patriots on top, 11 and 2. So you love to see it as a Patriots fan myself, best team in the league right now. But yeah, weird week otherwise, so we'll get into that quickly. Let's hit some news. Amon-Ra St. Brown, starting off with the injuries. Amon-Ra St. Brown hurt his ankle on Thanksgiving, and he did not return to the game. He also it looks like he's not going to play this Thursday against the Cowboys. So, Jameson Williams gets a huge bump. Isaac TeSlaa gets a bump, assuming that Amon-Ra doesn't go. He didn't practice again today, second straight day. So, um, yeah, that's big time. So, yeah, keep an eye. Hopefully, it's not too long term. We I would anticipate they try and push them to come back because they are going to be fighting pretty hard to get in the playoffs. As good as the Lions are, the NFC is brutal at the top half of those playoff teams. So, they're really they need some wins badly. So I think they're going to push Amon-Ra to get back sooner than later just because they need wins. But yeah, for now, fire up JMO. You could even play to Tesla, especially against the Cowboys. Justin Herbert, he got hurt. He's getting surgery. I forget what the exact injury was, but he's getting surgery. I think it's on his non-throwing hand. Um, there's a chance he plays this week. It's Monday though, so it's a difficult situation. You could just go, hey, I'm gonna get Trey Lance. He's got the rushing upside, and maybe you play Trey Lance if Herbert doesn't go. But that's the situation there. He could go if Trey Lance is the quarterback. Downgrade the whole receiving core. Downgrade the offense as a whole. Um, Hopefully Herbert goes, but we'll see. Keep an eye on that. Marvin Harrison, he came back from after getting his appendix taken out, and he ended up hurting, I believe it was his heel. So he came out with an injury. So, keep an eye on that. Michael Wilson may be very viable once again with the two games without him. I think he had 33 total targets, something crazy when Marv wasn't there, and McBride was still getting his share. McBride's been awesome. So, yeah, Michael Wilson could be great. Keep an eye on Marv. Aaron Jones got hurt. It seems like he re-aggravated that AC joint injury. So if he doesn't go, Jordan Mason gets a bump. I don't know how big of a bump though. That team has been brutal with it doesn't matter who's out there at quarterback, but McCarthy, it's like, okay, maybe Brosmer's something. Brosmer was awful. Granted, tough defense. Seahawks are a very good defense, but still. Um, yeah, just keep an eye on that. Mason would get a bump and borderline RB2. Rogers got hurt again. That's just rough situation there. Um, yeah, just watch it. Not much to take away from that. Tyrone Tracy got hurt. Seems like he will be okay following the bye. They're going into a bye week, so he'll get an extra week off. Singletary had a lot of carries though, so keep an eye there. I think Singletary is a name to watch, a name to pick up, a name to go get if he's available. But yeah, keep an eye on Tracy. He should be okay, I think, following the bye though. Dylan Sampson got hurt. Maybe more work in the receiving game for Judkins. Just the hope there. Kyron, he got hurt. He came back in the game, got his full workload. But I'd probably go pick up Blake Corum, play it safe. Woody Marks also got hurt, came back in, finished out the game as well. Nick Chubb did score a touchdown that game, but he's not too exciting. Although, if anything were to happen to Woody Marks, if Woody Marks is to miss any time, I think Nick Chubb could be a viable option. So those are the injuries. That's the news for this week. Pretty quick. So let's get right into that recap, shall we? So we will start off. We have a big slate, so we'll start off Thursday. The first Thanksgiving game, it was Packers Lions, awesome one. The Packers got it done. The Packers beat the Lions. Jordan Love looked amazing. Josh Jacobs got a bulk of carries again, coming back from that injury. Dobbs got in the end zone again, but leading the receiving room, Christian Watson, 4 for 80 and a touchdown on 10 targets. He led in targets, not the receiving room, because the guy who led in the receiving room was Dontavian Wicks, who went 6 for 94 and two. I think Watson needs to be owned at this point. Personally, this has been multiple weeks. Wicks, it almost feels like a little bit of an outlier because he's been inconsistent to do it. Although we've seen it in last year too. He's able to put together some of those big games. So I think Wicks is worth a watch on the waivers. If Watson's available, I'd pick him up immediately. I think this could be a very good player moving forward. Dobbs, he doesn't feel great. The touchdown helps, but he really doesn't feel great. Love, yeah, love's up and down for fantasy, but yeah, and Josh Jacobs, he's back. As for the Lions, Goff was pretty efficient. Um, yeah, we lost Amon-Ra St. Brown early, so it was Jamison Williams, 7 for 144 and a touchdown on 10 targets. I think he was the highest receiver on the week, so he had a great day. It's very clear you can fire him up. I mean, a juicy matchup against the Cowboys on Thursday. I will be having him in my lineup. So, yeah, that's really exciting. I'm really excited for JMO. But of course, this is going to be the game he comes out and does nothing. Um, I think without Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, there will be a lot to go his way. It almost feels bust proof, which is crazy to say with the most boom bust player in Jamison Williams. But I'd be excited to get him. I think Tesla could be good as well. He scored a touchdown in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs got a ton of carries. Wasn't super productive for fantasy. Montgomery was the one to get in the end zone. But I wouldn't worry about Gibbs at all. Montgomery, it's like, okay, if he gets in, awesome. If he doesn't, I'm not excited. Moving on. Let's go to the next game. This was an awesome game. I was able to watch a good portion of this. Cowboys end up beating the Chiefs at home. This was a great game. I took the Cowboys to get this upset. Patrick Mahomes, though, he looked unbelievable. He looked great. Rashi Rice is just unreal. 8 for 92 and two on 12 targets. He's been everything we've wanted out of him. So if you went and drafted him, I know we talked about it on this show, Vinny and I. I know Vinny got him in one of his leagues in like the sixth round or something like that. Felt early missing 6 games, but at this point in the season, it feels like that was the right call. This guy has been electric. Worthy is, he'll be okay. It feels like he's getting 9 to 12 PPR points every week at this point. He got 10 in this one. Kelsey scored again. Kelsey's been great, so keep firing him up. Pacheco is back. Kareem Hunt got the bulk of the carries though, out carried him 14 to 3. It seems like they're gonna roll with Hunt moving forward. Just keep an eye on it though, Hunt and Pacheco. I think it's something to monitor. Because I think this was Pacheco's first game back. As for the Cowboys, Dak was good again for fantasy. Javonte Williams had a good day, 17 for 59. He also got a receiving touchdown. Um, CeeDee Lamb, 7 for 112 and a touchdown. George Pickens, 6 for 88 on 13 targets. These two are both top five receivers, and it's unreal. It's unreal they're coming from the same team. It's awesome to see. Ferg is all right here and there. He only had 8 points in this week, but yeah, not too much to take away from that team except how awesome CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens both are. As for the night game, and what I thought would be a great win for the Baltimore Ravens playing at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals, they got crushed. Joe Burrow's return, he looked good. He threw 46 times, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's good to have him back. Jamar Chase, 7 for 110 on 14 targets. You love it. Chase Brown, 7 for 35. There was no T. Higgins in this one. Yoshi Voss was my start of the week, and it kind of disappointed. He did his one catch was a touchdown, so that helps, but it was a little bit of a disappointment in what I thought could have been a great game for him. Chase Brown's getting carries too. I know P. Ryan got a good chunk, but in a game like this, you can allow P. Ryan to get some carries. Lamar, yeah, we need to have a conversation about Lamar. This is the third straight week now where he went for single digit points. I don't know how low, but single digit points in this one. He looked bad again. He's not rushing a lot. I'd personally sit him. I'd personally sit him moving forward. If Brissett's out there for you, Brissett, first of all, has the second most fantasy points of any quarterback, only behind Josh Allen since becoming the starter in week 6. So go get Brissett if he's available. But yeah, a guy like that, maybe there's a great waiver wire option for you. I'd probably hold off from starting Lamar. I know there's a great schedule coming, but 3 straight weeks is starting to worry me. I'm hitting that panic button pretty hard. So yeah, it's tough because at this point too, Lamar could just pop off. But I think you need another option. It's not one of those situations now where you can be like, I'm getting this guy, I'm starting him every week, and I don't need a backup. You do at this point. And honestly, I'd probably try and start the other guy over him. Derrick Henry got in the end zone. It's typical. Isaiah Likely looked great. Mark Andrews was the second leading receiver. Both of them solid week. Zay Flowers, oof. Yeah, Zay Flowers, he fumbled too. It's not good. As long as Lamar is not producing, Zay Flowers is not as well. Yeah, I'd consider sitting him too if I can. If I have another option who has been producing, I may go that route. So the Ravens are gross right now. It's really scary for Lamar, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry. You can feel good about, but yeah, not a great situation for fantasy right now. Let's go on to Friday's game. The Eagles lost to the Bears. Caleb Williams got it done. I mean, he didn't look great, but he got it done enough. Cole Kmet got in the end zone. You know, at this point, what do you do with Odunze, right? 2 for 8. That's bad. It's really bad. I mean, DJ Moore had more receiving yards. Zacchaeus had more receiving yards on the same amount of catches. Colson Loveland had more. Luther Burden had more. It's scary. I think there's just a lot of mouths to feed, and very clearly in this game too, they did not need to pass. Kyle Monangai had 22 carries, 130 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 125 yards and a touchdown. They don't need to go through the air. Or yeah, they don't need to go through the air. They can go on the ground, and you could see it here in this game big time. I mean, 130, 125, that's 255 rushing yard. That's crazy to me. So, you know, they were, yeah, add the other guys too. You're getting upwards of like almost 280. Like, you add that all together and it's like, all right, that's you don't need to pass at that point. So, Monangai and Swift, I think you can feel decent about moving forward. They got a brutal schedule, but I think you can like them both moving forward. It's tough to pull them out of your lineups at this point. Monangai scored in 4 straight. So, yeah, run heavy offense. I'm worrying about Adunze personally. I'm seeing what other options I got on my team, maybe. Caleb Williams is very boom bust too, so I'm checking that as well. This team is just doing what they need to do to win games, and it kind of feels like it varies from week to week. So yeah, tough situations there. It sucks being a Romo owner at the moment. So yeah, do what you got to do. As for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, it's okay. Saquon, he wasn't great again. He's not getting receiving at all, and then he only ran for 56 yards. So it's been a very disappointing for Saquon Barkley. AJ Brown is back though, 10 for 132 and 2 on 12 targets. He's been awesome. He was the number one receiver on the week. Devontae Smith was all right, 5 for 48. Yeah, Saquon, you can't take him out of your lineup. It's Saquon Barkley, but you need to understand that he could be a fade week in, week out at this point. AJ Brown, I'd start firing him up in your lineup weekly. And Devontae Smith, he can be, matchup based, I think. Goddard if you need to. Hurts, he's been so up and down. I think that's just what you're gonna have to live with. He's had some huge, huge games this year and some not great games as well. And it's just whatever they decide to do in the offense that day. Let's go over to Sunday. 49ers beat the Browns. Brock Purdy was okay in this one in a tough game. Juwan Jennings getting in the end zone again. Kittle, he loves Kittle, 4 for 67. Decent day for a tight end. McCaffrey's unbelievable. 53 yards on the ground, a touchdown. He had 4 catches for 21. He's inevitable. Ricky Pearsall is a story here. He's borderline droppable. It's been all Juwan Jennings, and it's been multiple weeks now since Pearsall's been back, and he's done nothing. I know this was a tough matchup, but it really feels like he's fourth in the pecking order because there's Kittle, Juwan Jennings, and McCaffrey. So Pearsall is borderline droppable. If you need to clear up a spot, there's a guy out there to go get. I'd go get him. For the Browns, Shador is okay. Shador is not that bad. It's kind of crazy. He's loving the tight ends. Harold Fannin, 3 for 43 and a touchdown. Outside of that, not great for receivers. Judkins, 91 yards on the ground on 23 carries. They're run first, but if they're not getting in the end zone, it's not a great day. Judkins only had, I mean, some of the catches will help his points, but what's that, like 13-ish points? It's not great. It kind of feels like he has pretty low ceiling. Like you could get 13 week to week, but low ceiling at this point because the offense as a whole isn't great. Jaguars beat the Titans. Jaguars, yeah, Trevor, we say this a lot. I think he's very matchup based, but if he's got a good matchup, he can produce. And he was pretty solid for fantasy this week. Jacoby Myers was the number one guy, 6 for 90 and a touchdown. He's great. Yeah, Parker Washington got hurt in this one, which I forgot to mention in the news. But Jacoby Myers it seems like the one right now on this offense. And Brenton Strange seems like the two, 3 for 45 and a touchdown. That's 2 straight weeks. Myers has gotten better each and every week. Strange has been great the last 2 weeks. Brian Thomas feels third in the pecking order, and then Parker Washington's there too. So BTJ, you could bench him if you want to. Like, honestly, I think you probably should bench him. It feels like Jacoby Myers is the number one guy here. And Jacoby, speaking of him, I think you could start him. There's enough production. This is a good team. I think you could start him week to week. It's a matchup this week, I believe, against the Colts. So I think it could be a competitive game and there could be receiving work to go around. I don't mind that at all. Jacoby should be the trade ended up working out for him for fantasy. Running backs, it's still ETN's backfield, unfortunately. Tootin did get in the end zone again, though. So, you know, I don't think the takeover will happen, but there is a little bit of a floor if he keeps getting in the end zone like that. As for the Titans, yeah, I mean Pollard's the one running. They're content with that. Spears is getting a lot of catches. They go to him through the air, 6 for 25 in this one. Um, Yeah, I started Chimere DK in a league I needed to. It was disappointing. There's nothing else to take away here. Yeah, Pollard's not even startable, even though he's getting carries. There's just there's just nothing to like. 25-3. This team's 1-11. It's gross. Hopefully they can get pieces together for next year because I feel like this is all we've said for the Titans all year long. Let's go to the next game. Texans go into Indianapolis and they win. Stroud was back. It was okay. Nico Collins was pretty good though, 5 for 98 on 10 targets. He also got a rushing touchdown in this one. Nick Chubb got in the end zone rushing. Jaden Higgins, 5 for 65. He needs to be owned everywhere. He's been quietly producing lately, and it's clear he's the number two on this offense. Schultz has been producing too, 7 for 55, but it feels like they've kind of established Jaden Higgins as that number two behind Nico Collins, and it's great to see. I think he needs to be owned. I really do. Woody Marks had all the carries, 19 for 64. It's not always translating. It kind of feels like Judkins at this point because he's not getting a ton of receiving work. So if he's not getting in the end zone, it's not great. But, all the carries are there. It does feel like it will turn into something at some point. As for the Colts, Daniel Jones, he was okay for fantasy, even against this Houston defense. Alec Pierce, 4 for 78 and a touchdown. He kind of produced very well. Tyler Warren got in the end zone again. Pittman, it was a bust of a day. But yeah, I mean, Pierce feels like a good option. Honestly, you should pick him up if he's available in your league. Michael Pittman, I wouldn't worry about. Warren, I wouldn't worry about. Jonathan Taylor, I don't think I'd worry about him. Tough matchup. He went 21 for 85 on the ground, 3 for 36 through the air. So it wasn't a great day, but that's still a very, very steady floor. That's about, was that 14 points it seems? So if that's a bad day for him, there's a lot to like out of that one. Dolphins beat the Saints. The Saints, Tyler Shook, all right. Chris Olave, 4 for 47, a touchdown. Juwan Johnson, 5 for 39. That was all right. Devon Vele, 8 for 93 and a touchdown. If he's the clear two, he's going to have some value. If he's having days like that, he's worth a look. If you're in a deep league and you need a guy, I think he's worth a look. Devin Neal was the leading back, 14 for 47. He had 3 catches for 22 yards. Wasn't a great day for Devin Neal, who took over for the injured Alvin Kamara, but maybe there's some production to come for him. I just don't know because maybe Kamara's back this week, and the Dolphins are such a bad run defense. So if he wasn't able to get it done this week, just it's kind of like a who knows. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on Kamara. Devin Neal will get the bulk again if he is to miss time. And Devon Vele, if you want to take a shot on him, you can. Devon Achan, 22 for 134 and a touchdown. He's great. You gotta love Achan. Waddle, it was a down day, 3 for 40. Darren Waller's back, 2 for 47. There wasn't a lot of passing volume going around for this offense, so I wouldn't worry about Waddle personally. I also like Waller moving forward. I think you should pick him up, and possibly play him if you need to. So I think Waddle, Waller, both decent options. It's the same story. Waddle, Achane every week, but I think you can add Waller in moving forward. Good schedule too upcoming. The Jets, the Jets beat the Falcons. Kirk, it was okay. They finally said, here, Bijan, take the ball, run with it. 23 for 142 and a touchdown compared to Algier, 8 for 20. Inevitably gets in the end zone. You gotta love that. Algier always does that. Bijan also had 5 for 51. It's good to see he can produce with Kirk Cousins. He had 30 points on the week. It was a great, great game from Bijan. No Drake London this week, and who produced? Not Darnell Mooney. It was Kyle Pitts, 7 for 82. That's a great game from him too. So I think this is a good sign that, okay, maybe we can get some production out of Kirk Cousins for Bijan, for Kyle Pitts, for Drake London when he's back. So I think that's a great sign there. It's good to see guys like that have good weeks. I know it's the Jets, but like still, it's good to see that happen. Tyrod was actually okay for fantasy. You got a rushing touchdown too. Tyrod has some sneaky upside. If you're really desperate for a quarterback, he has some sneaky upside. Brees Hall, true workhorse, 19 for 68 and a touchdown, 2 for 8 receiving. Yeah, he's going to get work done. He's going to get work done. Adonai Mitchell is the story here, though. 8 for 102 and a touchdown on 12 targets. He looked great. If you watch the game, if you watch him play, he looked great. I think he needs to be owned right now. He looks like the one on this offense. And with Tyrod, there's clear production there. I mean, he did. So, yeah, I think Adonai needs to be owned. John Mechie was the clear two, 4 for 19, but 8 targets. So I think those are the two guys right now. It's weird. Maybe this is the new direction for the Jets. Get the young guys going. Adonai Mitchell, John Mechie. They didn't work out other places, but they're working out right now for the Jets. And weirdly enough, with Tyrod Taylor, who's not a young guy. But yeah, maybe that's the direction they kind of go in. I think we will get Garrett Wilson back at some point in the next few weeks. But for now, yeah, you could pick up both of them. I would maybe only, if you even trust them, start Adonai Mitchell. I would not start John Mechie yet. Panthers upsetting the Rams. This is big, big time upset. Matthew Stafford did not look great. Um, Kyron, it was not a great game. Corum got a touchdown. Puka 6 for 72. He's going to be great every week, at least PPR wise. And then Devontae Adams is always getting in the end zone, 4 for 58 and 2. He's awesome. He's really awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's the offense. Not much to worry about there. Just keep an eye on Kyron with that injury. I wouldn't worry too much about a down week from this team, though. They're still really, really elite. Bryce Young, he came out and played like he's the man. You never know what you're going to get. He's a boom bust quarterback, which is funny. Um, Tet got his day saved with a long touchdown, one for 43. That was a touchdown. Chuba touchdown through the air. Chuba got a ton of carries, 17 for 83. Rico had 18 for 58. It feels like they're taking a hot hand approach, so whoever's producing. And not that Rico was doing bad, but Chuba was producing well in this game, and they gave him the rock, and he got a receiving touchdown too. Jalen Coker, 4 for 74 and a touchdown. He's ownable. This team is going into the bye week, so it remains to be seen how they'll look coming out of the bye, but yeah, I mean, good game from Bryce, and you get a couple guys to produce, such as Jalen Coker. Chuba looked good. So, yeah, I think Coker's worth an ad. I think Chuba, if he was dropped, you could pick him back up in hopes that something happens. But yeah, all relies on Bryce Young. The Buccaneers beat the Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett, another great week, 19 points. He's just unbelievable. Bam Knight was pretty good in this one. 62 yards on the ground, 3 for 36 and a touchdown through the air. Marv had 6 for 69. And since he was back, Michael Wilson didn't really do much. And Trey McBride, 8 for 82 and a touchdown. He leads all tight ends in touchdowns this season. And he went from like none last year, and we're all like, oh, he's got to get more. He's got to get more. Well, he's getting a lot more, and then you love to see it. That's a league winner. Jacoby Brissett's been awesome for fantasy too. The Buccaneers, Baker was meh. Bucky, love to see him back. He got everything coming back too. He looked pretty good too. 17 for 61 and a touchdown. Also a couple catches through the air. Emeka Egbuka. What the hell did I just say? Emeka Egbuka. I sounded like Gronk saying that. Anyways, 4 for 42. Egbuka, it's a little worrisome at this point. Godwin was 3 for 78. We might even get Mike Evans back this week. Tez Johnson, you can let go of. K-Dot and maybe two. But Egbuka, I'm a little worried. Maybe Mike Evans coming back helps him, but yeah, just keep an eye. If Mike Evans is back and available, I'd go pick him up. I don't know if he's going to produce, but it's worth throwing on the bench. You never know for championship week, right? So if he's back this week, go grab him. Seahawks shut out the Vikings. Their defense was unreal. Max Brosmer's horrible. That dude's horrible. He barely ran the ball. Hawkinson went 6 for 59. Addison 5 for 36 on 10 targets. Jetta's 2 for 4. I just don't know if I can trust any of them. It's crazy that Jetta's is now in a conversation where you could consider sitting him, and I wouldn't blame you. And I would maybe consider it myself. He has been terrible this year with the quarterback play at hand. Carson Wentz, it was like, all right, well, at least he's doing okay. He's been terrible with McCarthy and Max Brosmer. So you better hope McCarthy comes back healthy and all of a sudden it was just because he was injured. But yeah, it's gross for the Vikings offense. Darnold was whatever. Charbonnet got in the end zone. Kenneth Walker was all right. JSN 2 for 23. They not a lot of passing volume to go around, and the Vikings just shut them down. I think this is a down week that you can throw out the window. I wouldn't worry about this much at all. Pass catchers other than JSN, I don't want a part of. Charbonnet feels like the Algier of this backfield. He's always taking the touchdowns from Ken Walker. It just so happens that Ken Walker's not getting as much production. So, yeah, it's a sticky situation for this offense as a whole. This game just is not fun to like unless you had the Seahawks defense. So, hope you did. Hope it worked out for you. Next game, we had the Chargers beat the Raiders. Geno stinks. Bowers, though, 4 for 63 and two touchdowns. He was awesome. Genty, the receiving game for Genty is keeping him afloat, keeping him in a good tier of running backs, 6 for 30 through the air. It was not a great day on the ground. That's about it. Trey Tucker, it just feels like it's not happening. So it's Genty and Bowers. That's it for that offense. For the Chargers, I know Herbert got hurt, but he finished out. Kamani Vidal, it's been down week, boom week, down week, boom week. Well, last game he played was a down week. This was a boom week. 25 for 126 and a touchdown. He had a reception as well. Jared Patterson, though, he got in the end zone as well. There was just a lot of volume for the running backs in LA this week. Lad McConkey, though, he produced 4 for 39 and a touchdown, so decent week out of him. Huge got in the end zone too, so decent day. Gadsden wasn't great. Keenan wasn't great. Wasn't a great day otherwise. I think there just wasn't a lot of volume. It's going to continue to be that carousel. There's going to be value every week for the Chargers, but you're taking a shot, hoping it's with the guy you got. Bills beat the Steelers in kind of an ugly one. Josh was all right. Josh scored a rushing touchdown and broke the record for quarterback rushing touchdowns. So he's awesome. Receivers, there's nothing. Even Shakir, I thought this could be a good matchup for Shakir, and he just didn't produce. Again, this is another game where there wasn't a lot of volume. Why? Well, James Cook ran 32 times, 144 yards. He also had 3 for 33 through the air. He's just been great. Ray Davis even got 9 carries. So there was just a lot of rush attempts for this team. They were up big. That's what you do to win the game. I don't blame them. James Cook, uh, man, he's been awesome this year. It was like that holdout and everything, and now he's been producing like crazy. As for the Steelers, Rodgers got killed. Um, yeah, Jalen Warren got the carries. He got a touchdown. Thought Gainwell could get some receptions, especially being down, but nope. It wasn't great for him. DK Metcalf too, 3 for 32. Um, yeah, he's been rough. He's been rough. He was my sit of the week, and it was honestly a great call, 6 points. Like it's been brutal for Metcalf. So yeah, that offense is not fun to own pieces of. Warren, I think, and Gainwell could both be viable. Metcalf, own him, but yeah, yeah, gross to own pieces of that offense right now. The This was a thriller. The Broncos beat the Commanders in overtime. Bo Nix was pretty good. RJ Harvey, it wasn't super efficient, 13 for 35, but 2 touchdowns. And he had 3 catches for 27 yards. Great day for RJ Harvey. Cortland Sutton back in the end zone, 5 for 62 and a touchdown. Evan Engram, 6 for 79. Did not know he did that, but that's a great game for him. 9 targets, too, led the team. Pat Bryant, 3 for 42. Troy Franklin with a little bit of a bust. This was also a week where it seems like Pat Bryant kind of took over that number two role was alongside Sutton. Sutton's not losing his number one spot, but it's always been a talk of there's a clear two there with them in Troy Franklin. Pat Bryant may be taking that over. So just keep an eye on that moving forward. Troy Franklin will lose all his value if he loses that spot. And, you could probably drop him at that point. So just keep an eye moving into the next week. Definitely try not to play him if you don't have to. The Commanders, Mariota was great for fantasy again in a tough matchup. He was great. 55 yards on the ground is always good. Chris Rodriguez, the new leading running back, 11 for 41 and a touchdown. He clearly seems like the guy. Bill, you can let go of. You can let go of Bill Krosky. That experiment ended weeks ago. It continues to be over. So yeah, I'd let him go. They came out of the bye for this week and it didn't change. So let him go. Zach Ertz, 10 for 106, 13 targets. He dropped a touchdown too, which man, it would have been a monster day. I mean, huge day for him anyways, 20 points. But yeah, Ertz feels like a decent option. If you're in a pinch, I wouldn't be expecting 10 for 106 every week, but for a tight end, that's elite numbers. So yeah, if you need to, I'd consider starting him. Terry McLaurin coming back from injury, 7 for 96 and a touchdown on 14 targets against Surtain and this Broncos defense. I would be hyped to have Terry McLaurin right now. I'm gonna wait another week. I want to see it in full force. It could have just been, they didn't go to Debo as much, 5 for 64. He still had a decent day, but maybe it was like, oh, we're gonna use Terry today. But I want to see it happen. I want to see it happen again before I fully trust him in my lineup. but I also can in the league I have Terry in. I can afford to wait on him another week. So I think this is more of a situation like if you've been waiting on Terry all year and you need to get him in your lineup, I would do so immediately. I think he is back. I want to take the patient approach with my specific team. And last game of the week, the Patriots moved to 11 and 2, best team in the league. They beat the Giants, who are now, wow, 2 and 11. I did not realize it was that bad. Yeah, Jackson Dart didn't look great. He's really got to protect himself. He just runs into massive hits, and it's gonna bite him. We already saw it bite him, and he was out a couple games because of the concussion protocol. So I hope he protects himself better. Wandale, 7 for 34. Theo Johnson also had 8 targets, but only 3 for 29. Not great. I think Theo Johnson and Wandale can both have some value with Dart at quarterback. This Patriots defense is just pretty good too. So better days are ahead. They're all heading into the bye though. Darius Slayton scored. Cool. It's Devin Singletary though, 3 for 34, and he had 12 carries to Tracy's 10. Right, Tracy did get hurt in this game, but Singletary got more. He had a better day, and he got a touchdown. So I think Singletary you need to own at this point. Drake May is my favorite player. He's the MVP. It's unbelievable. I never would have expected Drake May to be this good. I knew he'd be good, but this good, it's been unreal. Travion, he kind of lost his role a little bit. They went back to close to a 50-50 split. Travion, 11 for 67. He had 3 for 19 through the air, which is great. Awesome. But yeah, Ramondre had 12 for 40. One more carry than him. He also had 3 for 40 through the air. So it was a good day for Ramondre Stevenson. It really feels like Vrabel just does not want to use Travion like a bell cow when he probably could and get great production. So they're going to keep this approach. It's going to be a split all year. It sucks. Yeah, we're going to have to just be patient. We're just going to have to be patient. Hunter Henry, 4 for 73. It was a decent day again. Kayshon Boutte got in the end zone. Kyle Williams got in the end zone. Diggs, he was below 50% of snaps this week, 3 for 26. I think you need to sit Diggs right now. They're going into the bye anyways, so you're going to sit him anyways. But yeah, I think right now that they're looking at Boutte and Mac Hollins were the two guys on the field the most at the receiver position. So Diggs, you might be able to pull out a lineups moving forward. He's had a pretty productive season overall, but I'd probably pull him and wait to see more, and then go from there. They do have a couple nice matchups in the playoffs, so if he pulls it back together, I'd consider starting him again. But for now, I'm definitely gonna sit him. But that'll do it. That will be the recap, the Week 13 game by game recap. Let's get into waivers. Not too much to talk about here in waivers, but we'll just get through. At the running back position, Chris Rodriguez, clear guy. He's now the guy in Washington right now, so I'd go add him. I think there's going to be production for him if he continues to hold that role. Devin Neal, as long as Kamara's out, he will have a role. It wasn't the best week, but I think he's worth adding. Bam Knight, I put on here, if Trey Benson is to miss another week, I feel like this is a short-term option, Bam Knight. But if Trey Benson's to miss another week, Bam Knight was productive, and I think he can have another productive day. Bashal Tutin, this is purely a stash. I don't know if it's going to happen for him to take over ETN, but the if anything were to happen, it does feel like he's a good handcuff. Algier, same thing. He's still scoring touchdowns too. Blake Corum, same thing. Singletary, I just mentioned why you should go pick him up. He's getting carries. And Tyjae Spears, it's gross. He's not getting carries. The Titans are gross, but he's getting receiving work. And if you really in a pinch and you need like 8 points, feels like he's doing that each week. So I'd consider Spears if I really needed to, just for that 8 point floor. Priority, definitely Chris Rodriguez for me here. Not super exciting running back options this week, though. Wide receiver, a lot more exciting. We have Adonai Mitchell, huge week, looks like the true one. And if he's doing what he did this week, there's a lot of value in that. So Adonai Mitchell definitely worth an add. John Mechie too, just another name to throw out there. He's more of a stash for me, but John Mechie could be definitely picked up. Jaden Higgins I think needs to be owned as well. I think Jaden Higgins is going to be great. He's really turned it up lately. He's been producing very well. So quietly he's been good. Kayshon Boutte definitely needs to be owned. He feels like he might even be that Patriots number one receiver, which is crazy to say, but he definitely could be. Devon Vele, I think Vele, yeah, if you want to take a shot, go for it, definitely. Isaac Tesla, as long as Amon Ra's out, I think he's worth a shot. So another short-term option. Jalen Coker, if you want to take the shot, I don't mind that at all. Very productive week. They are going on bye though. Dontavian Wicks, super productive week. If you think it could be consistent, I'd go pick him up. I don't personally think that's going to repeat, but especially with Jane Reed coming back soon. But I think, I wouldn't be mad if you went and said, hey, I think Wicks is going to stick, so go take your shot on him. Definitely priority for me is Adonai Mitchell. I think Jaden Higgins as well. Both really, really good options there. At the quarterback position, Jacoby Brissett, he's barely owned above 50% of leagues. Like I said before, QB2 since week 6 when he became the starter, just behind Josh Allen. He's been unbelievable. I think he finished as a top 12 quarterback once again. So he's been really, really good. You need to go own him. It's just been awesome for fantasy. Trevor Lawrence, matchup based, but I think he's playable. And as long as Jaden Daniels is out, you can pick up Mariota and play him. He could be back this week, but I think that's the situation there. Brissett, very, very clear priority for me though. Tight end position. Sorry, yeah, tight end. Brenton Strange, he's the number one guy for me, the priority for me. Brenton Strange has looked great the last 2 weeks as a clear top option in this passing offense for the Jaguars. And I think there could be some good days. He could end up being a league winner down the stretch. It's been rough for tight ends this year. So, I think you got to go pick up Brenton Strange if he's available. Colston Loveland, if you want to, I don't mind taking a shot there. Been a lot of ups and downs, but we can see what he's done with the good weeks. Isaiah Likely, he was decent this week, so if you want to take your shot, they have a great schedule for tight ends. Maybe Lamar turns it around and Likely becomes a beast. He had a good week this week anyways. So Darren Waller too. They have a great playoff schedule for tight ends. He was back 2 for 47 this week, so you never know what he could do with some better matchups ahead. So I think there's some good options here in the tight end position this week for sure. I like Strange the most. I'd probably say Waller number two. Drop candidates, dropping Ricky Pearsall. It's been a couple weeks where I just don't think he's going to get enough volume. I mean, he's the fourth option in that offense. Jerry Jeudy, you can drop. There's just nothing to like there. Bill Krosky, I cannot believe he's still owned over 50% of leagues. It's like 55 right now. You need to drop him. He's nothing. Hawkinson, he's owned in a ton of leagues. He needs to be dropped. Cup needs to be dropped. Tez Johnson, he can be dropped with, the potential Mike Evans coming back, and he just wasn't that great this week. I think Rashad White and Sean Tucker, unless you want them as handcuffs, you can drop both of them. They're nothing more than that. Pacheco, you can drop him too. It really feels like Kareem Hunt's backfield. And then Aaron Rodgers, if you're holding him, drop him. He hasn't been good. And the injuries too. So yeah, that will do it for the waivers. Let's look back at the start sits from last week. Hit with a couple great call to sit DK and Loveland. Those were two good calls. I hit a great call to start Brissett. I'll give myself round of 4 of 8. Yoshi Voss missed as a start. Um, yeah, the rest don't matter. I definitely whiffed on Javonte, sitting Javonte Williams. But yeah, the rest are somewhere in between. Vinny hit with RJ Harvey as a start. Great start, Strange. Sits. Um, he whiffed on Swift. He whiffed on Swift. The rest are somewhere in the middle. So we each had a decent week, somewhere in the middle there. It will just be mine for this week, starts and sits. So I'll just go through those and then, let y'all get out of here. But for my start of the week at the quarterback position, I'm going Jared Goff versus Dallas. It's just a great matchup. It's a really, really good matchup, and I think I'm taking that. I didn't even see where it's being played, but if it's in if it's in Detroit, which it might be. Hold up, hold up. Yeah, it's in Detroit, which is a dome, and you know Goff produces in a dome and in this matchup. Ooh, I love this a lot. I love this a lot. I'm starting Goff if I can. I think this is a great matchup. I think there's going to be a lot for Goff. I think this could be another shootout, so I like this. I love Goff for this week. I'm big on him. Starting him against Dallas. Running back, Jalen Warren for me versus the Ravens. It seems like they're turning back to him as the clear guy over Gainwell. It was a split last week more so, but feels like they went back to Warren a little bit more this week. He got in the end zone. Even in a game they were down, they barely threw the ball. So at least a Gainwell. So I think Warren, it's a great matchup against Baltimore. I think they're going to shift more in his direction again, anyways. So I like him as a start for this week, especially if I have the space to do so. Wide receiver, I'm starting Jamison Williams versus Dallas. I'm stacking him up with Goff. It's looking unlikely like Amon-Ra is going to play. Great matchup too. I love JMO for this week. I think he's going to be a beast. So yeah, fire him up, fire him up. I'm thinking even, borderline wide receiver one potentially. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish. Top 15 for sure. So yeah, I'm starting JMO for sure. Tight end, I'm starting Brenton Strange versus the Colts. It's a good matchup, and he's just been producing. So I really like Strange for this week. I'm definitely riding him. I'm riding the high that he's been cruising on. So definitely like him for this week. So yeah, those are my starts. My sits of the week. I'm sitting Lamar Jackson. It's a great matchup against the Steelers, but I want a week. It's that simple. I know very well he could be unbelievable again, but three straight busts, like not even just down weeks, three straight busts, like 7 points, 6 points, 8 points, somewhere in that range. I'm sitting him, and I'm just gonna wait until he can produce. I was listening to a podcast where apparently in the last few weeks, Shador Sanders has outscored him. So that should tell you how bad Lamar has been. Anyways, I just want to be patient with Lamar. I know the schedule is great. I know he could be amazing. I'd just rather not take the chances at this point after three straight weeks. As for my running back sit of the week, I'm sitting Kareem Hunt versus Houston. Tough matchup. I do think Pacheco's going to get a little more involved, maybe not a lot, but pair that with the tough matchup. I'd rather sit Hunt and see if I can find other options. At the receiver position, I'm sitting Debo versus the Minnesota Vikings. They just stifled JSN. So I really think that this is going to be a tough matchup for Washington to get the offense moving. And I think Debo could be shut down. I mean, Terry's back. Terry looked great. They went to Terry, they went to Ertz. I think Debo's third in the order, and this is a tough matchup as well. So I'm sitting Debo and looking at other options. Tight end. My sit of the week is Amari Gadsden versus the Philadelphia Eagles. My sit of the week last week at tight end was against the Eagles, and I'm doing the same thing this week. I also just fear that if Herbert misses time, I don't like the offense as a whole as much. So I'm sitting Gadsden for the fear that Herbert misses the game and for the fact that Gadsden hasn't been producing too much and for the fact that it's a really tough matchup against the Eagles. So those are my starts and sits of the week. Hopefully we'll be back with Vinny next week, but quick episode today. Nothing too crazy. We're getting through it. Yeah, week 14 is upon us, and then we hit the playoffs week 15. So looking forward to that. We'll have a lot of fun stuff to talk about then, and hopefully you'll hear about what's going on in our leagues as well. But yeah, until then, we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.